Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
It was called The $6 Million Man, and it starred 70s heartthrob Kentucky native Lee Majors. The hit TV show, which was actually first introduced to the American public in 1973 as a full-length movie, became a hit weekly TV series during the years 1974 through 78. The theme was simple. Lee Majors crashes and almost burns, and with little hope of survival, the local scientists turn him into a robot and thus spend $6 million to keep him going. The result? A $6 million man who apparently could only run in slow motion. So what does a $6 million man have to do with a retirement planning firm who recently crossed the $1 billion mark of managing our clients' assets? Well, actually nothing, but still pretty impressive, don't you think? Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I'm that little man in the sweater vest, the owner of Tony Walker Financial, a company who currently manages over $1 billion for more than 3,500 client assets, and the world's friendliest financial fiduciary, Tony Walker. And today, we are going to share with you the reasons so many savers are trusting their money to Tony Walker Financial, and the strange reason that many of our friendly competitors appear to have no clue what we do that makes our practice so different from the rest of the financial herd. But before we dive into today's show, let me introduce two young lads who each week make me run circles around the $6 million man, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orender, along with Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, for those of you savers who regularly watch our TV show each week, or possibly listen to it on the radio, you know for certain that Tony Walker Financial is a local, independent retirement planning firm based in Kentucky. And unlike many of the big boys out there vying for your money, we are providing something unique. A one-on-one comprehensive planning service which allows you to meet with either myself, the owner of the company, or one of our other highly trained salaried fiduciaries. Also, as a saver, you realize our weekly message is tailored towards savers, not investors or speculators. That's because we know that savers do not like taking a lot of risk with their money, especially when it comes to this thing called retirement. I mean, why in the world would you take a bunch of risk with your money in retirement when there's usually no reason to do so? Probably because you don't have a written game plan coming to you from an experienced retirement planning firm who knows the hearts and minds of the saver personality. This is what makes our work so unique. Don't believe me? Just check out all of our 5-star reviews at our website at TonyWalkerFinancial.com to see what others are saying about our unique services. With that said, while I've never been one to set financial production goals for our company, I must admit that last year when I was told that we as a company were now managing and overseeing more than $1 billion, that's billion with a B, $1 billion of our clients' money, well, to say that I was shocked, that would be an understatement.
Hey, what do you want? A medal?
You see, as a lower middle-class kid growing up with a single-parent household in the 60s, my family never had any money. And truth be told, when I struck out on my own in 1989, I had little money back then. In fact, as I share in my book, Live Well, Die Broke, had it not been for my wife Susan working nights and weekends as a nurse, I guarantee you I never would have made it in this business. Furthermore, up until the last 10 years or so, I had serious doubts if I was going to be able to keep doing business at that level and, of course, keep the payroll going. So, as you can imagine, to now fast forward to today, October 14th, 2025, and realizing that Tony Walker Financial's 20 full-time employees overseas and manages more than $1 billion of our clients' money, Well, it's quite humbling indeed. So, what does a firm our size have to do with whether you as a saver might want to invest your life savings with us? What is it that makes Tony Walker Financial so unique from the rest of the financial herd? And why do we hear from so many of our friendly competitors that appear to have no clue what we do, trying to tell others what we do? Well, when I return, I'm going to share with you the biggest misconceptions about Tony Walker Financial and why hearing it from the horse's mouth is the best truth of all. So, if you're retired or nearing retirement, and you are looking for someone you can trust with your 401k, IRA, or other retirement accounts, stay tuned to learn why so many savers trust Tony Walker Financial. We'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and our theme today is this notion of having more money than one knows what to do with, especially if you happen to find yourself in that very rare camp of being designated a billionaire. And while myself nor anyone employed nor any client of Tony Walker Financial can classify themselves as billionaires, I'm very honored and quite frankly humbled by the fact that last year, 2024, Tony Walker Financial crossed the $1 billion mark in terms of the amount of money we oversee for our clients. In fact, as of the date of this recording, when you include all of the money we manage through our investment platform with Charles Schwab, plus all of the annuities we oversee, which we've written more than 4,000 annuities we have placed with our company, we are close to $1.1 billion of client assets we manage and oversee. So how did we get to this point of being trusted with so much money by so many savers? Well, to help us understand the journey our firm has taken over the years and the pains we are now taking to continue to provide top-notch service to our clients via the magic of Zoom all the way from our Bowling Green office is fellow fiduciary, Miss Heather Hughes. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning, Tony.
And I appreciate you joining us on this beautiful October 14th, 2025. And what I wanted to do, Heather, since you've been with the firm so long, nearly 20 years, we're talking about this idea that last year we crossed the $1 billion mark in terms of helping our clients with their assets. So tell everybody a little bit about the history and even going back years ago when things were not so peachy and rosy then.
Yeah, well, I think you and I have talked before on how amazing the growth has been, and we're both so appreciative of all the clients that have trusted us. But sometimes you use the word fledgling firm, way back when. But it was just, it was just you as the advisor, and then, Connie Fortney and I just trying to keep the ship running for you. But the growth has just been amazing, and we're so appreciative of all the clients. It's, truly a blessing, but it was a little bit of a struggle in the beginning.
Yeah, and I think we just concluded we'll have our last client event this year, and I do want to have a shout out to the clients, and I guess that's why I continue to want to have these client events. Obviously, if it was not for them trusting us with their money, we wouldn't be here. And don't you think the financial world sometimes just loses sight of that very fact?
Oh, absolutely. I think, some of our clients have told stories from previous advisors that give them a hard time when they try to take their money out for them to use, and it's all about, other people's money and how they make money on, the client's money. We've never lost sight of who got us here. It's their money, the respect for that. It's just kind of, I don't know. It just sometimes the industry surprises us, I would just say.
Oh, that's a mild way of putting it. But let's talk about that saver client that has brought us to the dance and even their personalities a little bit. And I think sometimes they're even shocked that we want to work with them. I mean, some of them have a lot of money. They'll say, well, I only have 700,000 or 500,000. Obviously, we're not working with billionaires, and we do work with several people that have a lot of money. But in general, describe our saver personality and roughly the types of amounts of money they have and can still be worry-free in retirement.
Oh, absolutely. So, the saver personality is one that really kind of buys into our process. They want to have a plan that, rates of return may not be their highest priority. They want to keep what they have saved. They've worked very hard for it. Often we get, well, I don't have enough money to work with you. Well, that may not be the case. Like you said, we have some clients that, have a $250,000 401k and they're like, "Oh, that's not enough for you to help us." And it's absolutely not true. We can certainly help them with that. But I think it's one of those that our saver clients trust us. They appreciate the work that we do and have a lot of solace in the plans we put forth for them.
And then finally, I want to address this, not to dog our competitors, because I know they're out there working hard and trying to make a living too, but it does frustrate me. Why do you think, because we hear this from people who come and approach us for a second opinion, why is it that we hear this all the time? Well, all they do is annuities. Or sometimes people will come to us frustrated because their advisors aren't offering a game plan, so we put a game plan together. Then they'll go back to their advisor, and then the advisor will just simply say, oh, we can do what they do. I mean, where do you think all that comes from?
Probably they don't know what we do. Of course, we've always been so proud of our software and the retirement plans we put together, but it doesn't end there. It doesn't end with just the sale of a product or the opening of an account. It's the relationship that we build with our clients that makes us really different. You mentioned the client events just now. We love those, and it's very unusual for you to invite all of our clients to a nice dinner or a fun outing or things like that. And that's something that, we really appreciate the clients. We really want to build that relationship with them. And by our, and but we always look at our income plan audits and things like that. We're always trying to keep an eye on the client's goals and their plans to make sure they're staying on track. Other advisors, they're worried about the sale and retaining, the assets under management to collect their fees. And we just have a different philosophy than that.
Yeah, and I was finally going to say maybe too, I think our 5-star reviews, which we're allowed to by law to provide on the website, I would encourage people to go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and read some of those. And to your point, most of those reviews are not about me. They're about the staff and the service and how we hang with the clients. And I guess what makes me so proud of you and the other fiduciaries and the staff. And again, I want to thank you all for just how diligent you are in making sure our clients remain happy and worry-free. So thank you, Heather, for all you do, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Tony.
You're welcome. Folks, we'll be right back.
This Tony Walker Financial 5-star review comes to us from Larry Sparrow. We had a great meeting with Tony and some of his staff. Very happy with our decision to purchase an annuity. If you'd like to read more of our 5-star reviews, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Speaking up of growing in a lower middle class single parent household in the 60s, my mom, who keeps everything, the other day handed me this old Jerry's restaurant menu. In fact, this was the Jerry's over in Frankfurt. Some of you may have remembered it on US 60. This had to have been back in the early 60s. Listen to some of the prices of some of this stuff. Didn't need to be a billionaire to eat at Jerry's, that's for sure. Back then, a cheeseburger, 45 cents. You could add coleslaw and french fries, a total of 80 cents. Listen to this. A small Coca-Cola, 10 cents. A large, 15 cents. Anyway, just going down memory lane, kind of funny. But so let's go now to Tony in the trenches right now, okay, to start off our segment here. And it goes something like this. Tony, I saw an ad on TV where a firm says that someone who charges a commission cannot be a fiduciary. Then I saw your website where your firm earns money on both fees and commissions. So how can you say you are a fiduciary? Is this firm correct or not? Well, actually, they are not correct. And I don't know where they get off saying this because basically the definition of a fiduciary, by the way, you can download our Form ADV Part 2 on our website at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. The definition of a fiduciary is someone who is regulated by law. We are under the SEC to work in your best interest. Secondly, they have to disclose everything. So yeah, you can charge commissions as long as people know you're working on a commission basis. In fact, we've covered this before. In some cases, when we charge a commission versus charging our fees, over the long haul, you'll actually save money. So folks, you got to watch some of these ads on TV and talking about commissions. There's nothing wrong with commissions as long as you understand the commissions and they are explained to you. So I hope that helps. All right, so I want to talk about this idea of billionaires.
Hey, Tony, wait a minute.
Elwood P. Gold Rush, and I wanted to talk
That
to Tony
Elwood
for a
Gold
minute
Rush
about
guy is
that
back
old
on the phone
Lee
again.
Majors
Says
and how I
he
knew him back in
grew
high
up
school
with Lee
playing the
Majors and he
football.
actually played high school football. I don't know. He played high school football against him. Do you want to take this call?
Okay, whatever. Here we go. Hello, Elwood. Hey, I'm kind of busy right now recording in the show, but what can I do for you?
Well, Tony, I heard you talking about old Lee Majors and how he was hot stuff in the 70s as a $6 million man. But let me tell you, I played high school football against old Lee, and believe me, he was no $6 million man. In fact, one chilly Friday night in Middlesboro, Kentucky, I was the halfback on our team. There was a pitch to me, and I was blazing a trail around when old Lee, who was playing safety, tackled this old boy, and you talk about a collision. Well, guess who kept running that ball all the way into the end zone for the victory?
Well, obviously, I guess that would be you, Elwood, correct?
Well, actually, no. It was Lee, because when he hit me, I coughed that ball up like someone had just done the Heimlich on me, and dang it if that rascal didn't run it back 80 yards for a touchdown.
Okay, so I guess on that night anyway, Elwood, Lee Majors was the $6 million man.
Martha, remind me to never call into the Tony Walker Show.
All right, back to the show about billionaires. Now, just to prove that there is no magic number that you're supposed to have in retirement, let's look at these three examples of different people with different amounts of money. Person A, we're going to assume, has $500,000 in their 401k and they want to know if they can retire. Person B is all excited because they've reached this arbitrary imaginary number of 1.6 million. And then we got person C. This is somebody probably hanging out at the Ocean Reef Resort. They have $50 million. So let's start first with the $50 million man. And we look at that, a $50 million person, folks, one reason they're in the stock market, they may be taking risk with their money. They can take the losses. They can withstand the losses. They probably can't even spend the interest off of $50 million. So they're going to be investing differently. They're going to be living a lifestyle that's very different from yours. So you got to take your eyes off the $50 million man. Well, what about the $1.6 million person? Again, if you're in the state of Kentucky and you're not trying to chase after the folks down at the Ocean Reef Resort and keep up with the Joneses, that should be plenty of money. Now, more than likely, not always, I met someone the other day that only made about $60,000 all their life. They had socked a lot of money in their 401k plan. They had come into me wondering if they could retire. And guess what? They had about 1.6 million. And I said, no problem. But what the problem is once you leave your basic expenses and start spending more than you have coming in. This is why when someone comes in with $500,000, assuming their salary has been in the $60,000 to $100,000 range, they should be fine. So folks, there's an old saying, and that is this: a luxury once enjoyed soon becomes a necessity. So here's the first key in retirement planning. Quit taking so much stock in how much money you have saved for retirement. Think about how much you're spending. So let's imagine you make $100,000 a year and you're making it fine, right? You're living, you're making money, you're spending money, and then all of a sudden you retire. The game of retirement is to duplicate what you were making at work, where you weren't making $100,000 by the time you take all the deductions out and all your 401k contributions. Maybe you only need $55,000 or $60,000 a year after tax to live on. So in that case, all you got to do is live within your means. So at Tony Walker Financial, this is what we're really good at. We don't get hung up on all these numbers, and you shouldn't either. What we do is we take each individual as they come in, we work with savers, and we devise plans to keep them in the same comfortable standard of living in retirement that they enjoyed during their working years. So that's you. If you're looking for a trusted advisor that understands retirement planning and can work with you and make this stuff work for you and your personal situation, let's talk. And we made this so easy to do, we call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. So to take advantage of a call with me, absolutely free, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or call us anytime at 877-499-9255. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back.
This is Mandy. I'm in charge of service here at Tony Walker Financial. And keeping in line with Tony's marching orders of live well, die broke, and our intention to be sure that our clients are enjoying their mailbox money, I just wanted to update the audience on the amount of mailbox money initiated just in the years 2024 and 2025 alone. As of the date of this recording, we have helped our clients elect lifetime income on more than 230 accounts just in those 2 years, which equals clients receiving over $660,000 per year guaranteed for life. If you are interested in turning your 401k into mailbox money for life, please reach out to us at any time.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement with the money missionary himself, Tony Walker.
Let me ask you a question. If all the world's wealth was in the hands of just a few people, but was eventually distributed to all the world's people, how long would it take for all the world's wealth to end up back in the hands of just a few people? Well, you and I both know the answer to that question, as evidenced by the fact that walking around here on planet Earth, there are more billionaires than ever before. In fact, according to Forbes, as of April of 2025, a record 3,028 billionaires worldwide with a combined wealth of $16 trillion. That's an increase of 247 billionaires from last year. That's right, control a lot of wealth. And while it is difficult to find out how many billionaires populated the world more than 100 years ago, I guarantee you back then, you could count them on one hand. The point being, that's just the way the world is, and true to my original question, most of the world's wealth has been and always will be in the hands of just a few people. That's just a fact. Yet assuming you are a Christian, this notion of only a few people controlling most of the world's wealth should not concern nor bother you. This fact is that there are some people in the world that have more money than they will ever know what to do with, and this fact should not weigh heavy on your mind nor create in you jealousy or any kind of negative emotions. That's because, as I shared in my game-changing book, Live Well, Die Broke, no matter how much one might possess here on earth, whether it's a few $billion or only a few thousand, we all end up in the same boat. That is, we all die broke. One billionaire sure bought into the Live Well, Die Broke concept of how to view wealth, and that was Chuck Feeney, who, after realizing that he only needed a few $1 million to live comfortably, gave away his entire fortune to charity. Oh, speaking of billionaires, years ago I had the good fortune of being invited to a financial advisory conference, which just happened to be held at a very exclusive resort known for its many billionaires called the Ocean Reef Resort. On one night during our brief stay there, us advisors were allowed to eat in the main restaurant with the residents of this classy and upscale place. Separated from these wealthy folks, I wondered if one of these billionaires might invite me to dine with them at their table. Of course, that didn't happen, nor should I have expected it to. And isn't that the point of today's show, to remind you and I that most of human population was never meant to achieve billionaire status, nor should we expect to be offered a place to dine with them. That's just the way of the world. But not so when it comes to our God and His desire to dine with us. Check it out. We're in John 21:12. Jesus simply offers up this invitation to anyone who can still fog a mirror. He simply says, "Come and dine." You heard it right, folks. While you and I are sitting there downtrodden in our tears and our sorrows, the Savior of the world invites us sinners to walk over to His table at any time and dine with Him. So what might the experience of dining with Jesus look like? Well, in John 6:56, we are told that we can dine with Him, and when we do so, we are spiritually eating of His flesh and spiritually drinking of His blood, meaning we are one with Jesus and he is one with us. Of this wonderful thought of being able to dine with Jesus anytime we want, the late, great Charles Spurgeon says this: Christians may differ on a variety of points, but they all have one spiritual appetite. And if we cannot all feel alike, we can all feed alike on the bread of life sent down from heaven. But Tony, you might be thinking, I've never seen this man Jesus, nor received a formal invitation to dine with him, to which I would say, you have now. You see, friend, by faith, that's right, even sitting there in your lazy boy and watching the show, you are invited to dine with him. You can dine with him while reading God's Word, dine with him in corporate worship, dine with him in prayer, dine with him by talking to him, and yes, you can even dine with him when you serve the needs of others. Because while it might be fun to wonder what it would be like dining with a billionaire, I'll take dining with Jesus over dining with a billionaire any day. My advice, take Jesus up on his offer and dine with him today. Do it frequently, do it joyfully, and do it as if your life depends on it, because in the end, it truly does. Amen? Well, speaking of dining with somebody for free, I've got a free invitation for you right now. It doesn't have anything to do with dining, but it does have something to do with talking to me, the owner of the company, Tony Walker. It's something we call the 10-minute free fiduciary phone call. And here's how easy it is for you and I to talk about your situation to see if we can help. If you're retired, nearing retirement, or maybe you've been laid off from work or one of those companies that's closed recently and you have no clue who to trust with your 401k plan, do this right now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You're going to see immediately a little red button. Just click on that 24/7, and we will arrange that phone call for you and I to talk. Now, after we talk by phone, if it looks like we can be of help, you and I are going to meet in person. That's right, the owner of the company. I'm going to sit down with you for about 30 minutes, find out in detail what you've got to work with, and then we're going to set in motion that free proprietary game plan. That's right, folks. Nothing like this in the industry. I know that because I created it. So if that's you, retired, nearing retirement, need help with your 401k plan, log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call us anytime at 877-499-9255. Well, we've enjoyed being with you this week, but you remember, between now and next week on the Worry-Free Retirement, if all else fails, you be worry-free and you make it a good one.